Okay, today is a story time / cautionary tale video for anyone who sells on Etsy outside of America. And if you're in America, you might want to watch it anyway for interest's sake. But this is really aimed at anyone who is an international seller on Etsy, because what happened to me might be happening to you. And I want to make sure that if it does, you know about it so that you can go and fix the problem. Okay, a bit of backstory. If you're outside the US, we have a setting in our pricing called domestic and global pricing. What that means is we can set two different prices. We can set a price for our domestic customers and a different price for all of our international customers. Why would you want to do this? Well, if you want to take advantage of Etsy's free shipping guarantee, and if you do, you end up ranking a little bit higher in search and are perhaps a little bit more likely to make sales, so it's worthwhile considering, then you can't just have one price, because your domestic customers, the shipping to them is a heck of a lot less than the shipping to your international customers. So this setting allows us to have free shipping available to our international customers while not losing out on money, unless what happened to me is happened to you. So last week, I was looking at some of my recent sales, and I'd actually caught, I can't remember where I read it, might have been in a Facebook group, might have been an Etsy forum, somewhere on social media, somebody mentioned that Etsy had charged their international customers their domestic price. And I'm like, well, that sucks. And then a niggle kind of hit my brain, and I went and looked at my latest international order. Lo and behold, Etsy had charged my latest international customer the domestic price, not the international price. Now, this is quite a significant difference. It's like $20+ difference, because the shipping overseas here is ridiculous from Australia. So there is a large gap between the two prices. When I saw this, I immediately went back and checked my last month worth of sales, and I realized that another one the previous week, the same thing had happened. So at this point, I'm like, okay, this is not good. What is going on? And I went and had a look on Facebook and Etsy groups I'm part of, and I went to the Etsy forums. And this is when I discovered that I am not the first. I am far from the first person to have this happen to me. In fact, there are records of it happening as far back as early, like May 2023, which is over a year ago as I record this. And there were so many forum threads talking about this issue, like heaps and heaps and heaps. And I bookmarked a bunch of them. And I was like, how is this happening to so many people? And how did I not hear about this? I did a couple of things. Obviously, I contacted Etsy support, and I'm like, hey, this is happening. I know I'm not the only person this has happened to. What are you going to do to fix it? And I expect a reimbursement for the money that you did not collect from my customers because your software mucked up. And by this point, I'd read in the forums that some other people had gotten reimbursed by Etsy in this circumstance, so I just went in with the expectation that they would do the same for me. So I contacted them, and they're like, oh, yep, I can see that this is a problem, and then I'm going to pass you on to, the higher level support. The engineering team are working on this. It's a known bug, blah, blah, blah. Now, coincidentally, a couple of days before this, I'd actually had an email from someone at Etsy in the community support area reaching out to me because of my YouTube channel and asking, I'm here if you need any help or support to help support the Etsy community. So I actually emailed her, and I'm like, hey, this has happened. Can you give me some comment on this? And I asked her a couple of questions. I'm like, can you tell me if this is going to be fixed and when it's going to be fixed? Can you reassure me that I'm going to get reimbursed for this? And do I and other people need to look back through the last year's worth of orders to see if this has happened to us previously and we just hadn't noticed? So I reached out to Etsy support. I reached out to this contact at Etsy. I also put up a post on my Instagram, and so many of you told me that this has happened to you as well. So this is a widespread problem, and it has been for quite a long time. So a couple of days later, I heard back from my contact at Etsy. She told me that I had been credited on my account to cover the difference between, what I should have gotten and what I actually got. And she told me that the current bug that is being experienced is not the same one as reported back in May 2023. I sent her a specific forum post from May 2023. I'll put that on the screen now. And she said, this is not the same bug. It's a different one, and we are working on resolving it. She also said that some of the customers had misused the software or not used it properly, and that's what had resulted in them not being paid the correct amount because, I don't know, they hadn't set up the domestic and global shipping, they hadn't set up the domestic and global pricing properly. Now, something else that happened in this story is that one of the people who commented on my Instagram about this happening to them also said that they noticed that some of their listings, the two prices had magically become the same. And I'm like, okay, let me look into this. So I looked at mine. Now, I set all of this up years ago, like when it first came out, like 2022, I think, or 2021. I did a video on it. Actually, I'll link it up here. And I set up all my domestic and global prices back then. Now, back then, Etsy had an old listing form. They have since updated to a new listing form. And I heard some people say that when they were using the new listing form, it wasn't saving correctly. And that was part of this problem. But I went and looked through my listings and I found 7 items where the two prices had magically become the same price. I didn't do that. That was not me altering those prices because I hadn't touched those listings. So that is another bug that has happened somewhere in there where it has set the two prices as the same, even though they should be different. So that's another thing to check. If you're going through this and going, what if this has happened to me? I want you to check those 2 things. I want you to check all of your orders since May last year, 2023, all your international orders, and make sure your customer was charged the international price, not the domestic price. And I want you to look through all your listings that have this setting enabled, and I want you to make sure that those 2 prices are correct, so that your domestic price is correct and your international price is correct. And then if you find that Etsy has not charged your customers the correct amount, reach out to them and expect a reimbursement, because they've done it for me, they've done it for other people, they've set a precedent. They should be reimbursing you because it is their problem and their fault, not yours. You shouldn't be missing out on your money because they have not processed the sale properly. So you better believe I'm keeping a close eye on this on all my international sales going forward. I'm going to double check that they've been charged the correct amount of money. Make sure you do too. Let me know in the comments below. Has this happened to you? Have you heard about this? If so, when has it happened to you? What happened with Etsy? Did you reach out to them? Did they reimburse you? If they haven't, keep fighting because they will. They've done it in the past, and I expect them to do it for you as well. And if there are any further developments in this, I'll be talking about it on my Instagram. So that's at Create and Thrive. If you want to follow me over there, I'll put a link in the description below. So I really hope this has not happened to you. And that's great if it hasn't happened to you, but I encourage you to keep an eye on your orders going forward to make sure this doesn't happen to you in the future. Now, if you do want a bit more help with running your Etsy shop effectively, go check out this playlist next where I talk about all the ways to grow a thriving and profitable Etsy shop. I've been on there for a very long time now, and it's still an important part of my business. Despite its flaws, it's still an important part of my business. Thanks so much for watching. I'll hopefully catch you in the next video. Well, if you subscribe, I'll catch you in the next video if you see it pop up on your feed. Bye for now.